Okay, here we go, everybody. Welcome to In the Paint, Altitude Sports Radio 92.5, Nuggets Lakers reaction. We've got about 2.5 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. 2-point game. Nuggets lead 112-110 over the Los Angeles Lakers in what's been just a fantastic game tonight on Prime Video. So we'll watch along here for the final 2.5 minutes and then get your reaction. As always, feel free to comment along. And please give me your thoughts on tonight's game, as we just saw LeBron James go down with what appears to be a left elbow injury. He was in a lot of pain and is currently getting checked out on the Lakers bench. So don't know if they're going to have LeBron down the stretch, but that's a big loss there for the Lakers. LeBron is, I thought, for a guy that's 41 years old, my goodness, that guy is still just a bulldozer in transition. And he's had a great game tonight. And the Nuggets are looking to close things out. So Luka misses a floater here, and the Nuggets do get the ball. So they'll look to go up by 2 possessions here. 2-man game between Jokic and Murray has been much better tonight than it has been since Joker came back from his injury, although Joker just turned it over while they were trying to run a pick and roll in the 2-man game. So look, if the Nuggets lose this game tonight, it will be because of turnovers. The turnovers have absolutely crushed them tonight, specifically in the second half. In that third quarter, the only reason the Lakers are within striking distance in this game is because of turnovers. So if we look at the numbers here, points in the paint as well, the Lakers are outscoring the Nuggets 52-38. But when we look at the turnovers, I'm trying to find that here on the box score, so just give me a second. The Nuggets have 18 turnovers. The Lakers only have 10. Okay. The Lakers have 26 points off of the Nuggets' 18 turnovers. The Nuggets only have 11 points off the Lakers' 10. So they're outscoring the Nuggets 26-11 are the Los Angeles Lakers in points off of turnovers. As Austin Reeves is at the line, he hits the first. Here comes the second, and it rims out. So that would have tied it up. But 1-point game now here at Ball Arena as we watch this thing go down to the wire. So Nuggets have it. Joker's going one-on-one with Jackson Hayes. He's going to flip it up and in. That is vintage Nikola Jokic. Him and Murray have to be their closers to close this thing out. Boy, Jamal Murray's had a really good game tonight as well. 20 points in the first half. Got it going in the third again. Really, he's had a really good stretch of 4 games. Lakers 3 rims out, and the Nuggets get the rebound. So if they can get a score here, even if it's a 2, you go up by 5, it's going to make life pretty difficult on Los Angeles. Bruce Brown's going to fire up a 3 wide open. Got to hit these off the front of the rim. And Luka's got the rebound. Again, these late game turnovers and missed open shots are why the Nuggets, in my opinion, have struggled so much in clutch time situations this year. We'll see if they can close this thing out. Corner 3 there from LA. I believe that was Marcus Smart. Bounces off. Nuggets get possession. 48 seconds to go. Joker, here comes the double team. He's trying to pass out of it, finds Bruce Brown back into Joker, spin move into the corner for Jamal for 3 off the front of the rim, and the Nuggets get the offensive rebound. Oh, that's huge. 28 seconds to go, still 10 seconds. They can run this thing down to about 15 seconds if they wanted to. Joker's going to drive it in, put up a shot, bank it in. 5-point lead for Denver, 22.3 seconds to go. Timeout, Los Angeles. Boy, what a clutch shot there from Nikola Jokic. So while we wait for the timeout to finish up here, just a quick look at some of the numbers, and then I want to go into the game itself at the conclusion of this thing. What a fantastic game. Both of these teams have had sort of different paths over the last couple of weeks. The Lakers are playing really well. They've won 3 in a row coming into tonight. The Nuggets have obviously been struggling, although they are coming off a win in Utah. And if the Lakers were to win this game tonight, they would actually jump the Nuggets in the standings. So this is a massive game. In fact, I was watching the game on Prime before Nuggets-Lakers was the Rockets and Warriors. That game ended up going to overtime, and Golden State beat Houston. So that's good news as far as the standings go for the Denver Nuggets. In fact, I think if the Nuggets win tonight, they will jump ahead of Houston. So Houston loses. They're now 38-23 on the season. If the Nuggets win tonight, they'll be 39-24. I believe they would jump them due to tiebreaker, but we'll have to see how the point percentage plays out. But nonetheless, really good news that the Houston Rockets did lose at home, by the way, to the Golden State Warriors, who still don't have Steph Curry. So that's a bad loss for Houston. Okay, out of the timeout here. And the Lakers will inbound from the side. Joker's direct in traffic. Wow, I think Joker's off the floor here, probably for defensive purposes. He is off the floor. Lakers shot goes up, miss, and the Nuggets get the rebound. Jamal secures it, and they wrap him up. And Jamal Murray looks like we'll be going to the free throw line. Marcus Smart's yelling at the ref. Boy, that tech Luka got in the first half. I don't know what he said to the referee. Just seeing it on video, he just kind of turned around and said something. He got teed up right away. He couldn't believe it. If Luka gets one more tech, he's going to be suspended for a game. So Luka's got to be careful here. Okay, they're going to go to timeout. Just some quick notes on the game here tonight. And like I said, as always, please feel free to weigh in. I'll go through all your comments as we roll along here. And I would like to get, actually, here, let's get one in here real quick. I finally shut the game off in the fourth, got tired of seeing Jokic turn it over. Maybe every play doesn't have to run through him if he's getting double, triple teamed and coughing it up. Look, I understand the frustration. If you've listened to the show in the past, I've always said the one area where it's completely fair, in my opinion, to criticize Nikola Jokic is he turns the ball over too much. And look, Nikola Jokic will tell you that. He has said that. He understands that. Now, what's weird about the last part of your statement there is when Joker, over the course of his career, when he's gotten double, even triple teamed, sometimes that's where he's at his best. Because what is Nikola Jokic so good at doing? He's good at reading defensive coverages. And when the double team comes, or even a triple team, he knows exactly where the open guy is. So it's kind of a catch-22 there with Nikola Jokic. I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, that's one of Nikola Jokic's superpowers. When the double team comes, that's when he's a facilitator, and that's when he's at his best, at least passing the basketball. So he's just got to be better, especially in late game situations, taking care of the basketball. And I think he would tell you that as well. But I totally get your frustration with Nikola turning the ball over too much. It's been too much in this game. It looks like the Nuggets are going to pull this one out, luckily. So it didn't hurt them tonight, but this has been a trend all season. And this goes back even to last year. The Nuggets just turned the ball over too much. Jamal does hit the first free throw and the second. So it's 118-111. This thing's over. The Nuggets will get the win over the Lakers. Austin Reeves throws a pass off the backboard to himself and gets it in. And so it's a 5-point game. Excuse me, that was Lorena, not Austin Reeves. And another timeout. So 7.9 seconds to go, 5-point game, and the Nuggets will have the ball. Just got to make sure they can inbound it. Once they get the inbound, the Lakers, I'm sure, will foul, and this thing should just about be a wrap for the Nuggets. Look, this is the start of a really difficult stretch for the Denver Nuggets. These next 7 games, including tonight against Los Angeles, the goal for the Nuggets should be to go around 5-2. That would be my goal, that my ideal scenario for them. Obviously, I would like to see them go 7-0. I don't think that's realistic. But if they could go 5-2 over these next 7 games, including tonight, I would say that's a massive success over this really difficult, brutal 7-game stretch. So they've got the Lakers tonight, the Knicks tomorrow night. They go to Oklahoma City on Monday. Then they come back home to play the Houston Rockets. Then they go to San Antonio on the second night of a back-to-back after they play Houston. And then they play the Lakers in LA on Saturday, March 14th. So this 7-game stretch here is going to be very, very important as far as seeding goes for the Nuggets, as the Lakers will foul with 6.6 seconds to go. It looks like Nikola Jokic is going to go to the free throw line. So really important 7-game stretch here. Like I said, if they can go 5-2, not only will theoretically Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson be back at some point during the 7-game stretch, if they can go 5-2, I think that's going to give this team a ton of positive momentum moving forward for the rest of the regular season. Because after that last game in LA, the end of this 7-game brutal stretch, they've got Philly, who that's not a cakewalk, but it is at home. Then you go to Memphis, they stink. Then you're back at home against the Raptors. That's a very winnable game. Then you're at home against the Portland Trail Blazers, very winnable game. Then you go to Phoenix, which they're actually a lot better this year than I thought it was going to be. And this game is final, by the way, 120-113. The Nuggets get the win. So huge start to this 7-game stretch for the Nuggets. What a great game tonight. Jamal Murray was fantastic. If Jamal Murray can keep this stretch up throughout the rest of the regular season and into the playoffs, that's what this team really has a chance to do something special. Stan Van Gundy said it on the broadcast tonight, and I've been saying this really for the majority of the regular season. He said if the Nuggets are fully healthy or as close to healthy as they can get come playoff time, he thinks they should be the favorite to win the NBA championship. I've been saying that all year, at least that they should be one of the top 2 or 3 contenders, no doubt about it. That's why I wasn't as concerned with seeding, especially during the injury stretch when Nikola Jokic was out and a plethora of other players. But if they can just get as healthy as possible towards the end of the regular season and into the playoffs, I really do believe that this team, it should be the favorite to win the NBA championship. I mean, this roster is stacked. The issues this year for the Nuggets have been they're just way too injured and inconsistent with all of the injuries that they've had to deal with. So I'd like to see them try to get 10 to 15 games with Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson coming back. That would be ideal. But if it's less than that, then it is what it is. But I think that's a good number of games to sort of get them back in the mix, get their conditioning back up, shake the rust off, and then let's go into the playoffs for a stretch run. So great start against the Lakers tonight. This LA team, this is a good Lakers team. This team is going to be a tough out in the playoffs. LeBron, like I said, 16 points tonight, but super efficient, 7 of 11 shooting, still really good in transition. He also had 8 assists, 5 rebounds. So LeBron is still at 41 years old, amazingly, still a very good NBA player. Obviously, he's not what he was a decade ago, but he is still a high-level NBA player, which is just an astonishing accomplishment for LeBron James. Luka tonight hit that ridiculous bank shot 3 as he was falling out of bounds. Those are just the kind of shots that Luka makes. Jamal Murray's kind of like that too. He's just a ridiculously tough shot maker. We've seen Nikola Jokic make really difficult shots in the playoffs over the years, and Luka is just one of those guys. But I thought overall they did a really good job on Luka Doncic tonight. He did score 27 points, but he was only 11 of 24 shooting from the field. That's pretty, I'll take that any given night. You make Luka Doncic go 11 of 24 from the field, 3 of 10 from 3. I take that as a win. He did have 11 rebounds and 7 assists, but I thought they did a pretty good job of keeping Luka in check. Austin Reeves got hot in the third quarter. You could tell their halftime message in the Lakers locker room was, we got to get Austin Reeves going. Those first 6 minutes of the third quarter, they were basically featuring Austin Reeves, and he was kind of torching the Nuggets there for a little bit, but they got that under control. Rui Hachimura off the bench was 4 or 5 from 3. He was really good tonight. And then Jackson Hayes, he comes in and fills in for DeAndre Ayton, who left the game just a couple minutes in with a leg injury. He scored 19 points in 27 minutes, 8 of 10 shooting from the field. He was really good. I don't know why they're not starting Jackson Hayes over DeAndre Ayton. I am not a fan of DeAndre Ayton. He played 5 minutes tonight, 0 points, 0 of 1 shooting. I think DeAndre Ayton is very soft. What's funny, I was thinking about this during the game. If you remember it was the draft that Michael Porter Jr. got drafted, and I believe it was the 2018 NBA draft. DeAndre Ayton was the first overall pick to the Phoenix Suns. Luka Doncic went third overall to Dallas. Now, technically, he was drafted by Atlanta, and Trae Young was drafted by the Mavericks, but they did a pick swap on the night of the draft. So Luka goes third overall to the Dallas Mavericks, and now you've got the first overall pick and the third overall pick from that draft class on the same team. The third overall pick has developed into one of the biggest superstars in basketball, and the first overall pick is a mediocre center at best. So Jackson Hayes came in and I thought really kind of changed the game for the Lakers as far as his production, his efficiency, and he really had a great game tonight against the Denver Nuggets. So as far as the Nuggets go, Nikola Jokic, it looks like very positive development from him. It looks like he's starting to get that touch around the rim back. I've talked about that over the course of the last, 14, 15 games he's been back since his injury. That's been an area where you could tell he just kind of lost that touch around the rim, where he's so good with the touch around the rim. That might be one of Nikola Jokic's best attributes, if not his best. I know his passing is elite, really good three-point shooter, basketball, supercomputer brain, all of that stuff. But his touch around the rim is really his bread and butter and his true superpower. It looks like he's starting to find that. He was 10 of 15 shooting tonight, so good efficiency from Nikola Jokic. 12 rebounds, 13 assists, made all 8 of his free throws, but he did have 9 turnovers. 9 turnovers for Nikola Jokic. Now, look, they won this game, okay? And with the way this team has been playing since he's returned from injury, you take any win you can get at this point. Until the other cavalry comes back, I'm talking about Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon, you take any win you can get. But it was great to see the touch around the basket. Looks like it's coming back for Nikola Jokic, but the turnovers are still a massive problem for the Joker. Now, he did pour in 13 assists. That's great. But assist to turnover ratio, he was just a +4. That's where it's like, it's almost canceling his assist numbers out by the way he's turning it over. And the problem tonight, and the problem a lot of nights for the Nuggets when they have a high number of turnovers, is not only do they have a high number of turnovers, but they're allowing teams to get out in transition and convert points off of those turnovers. Look, the Nuggets defense, I think, has been pretty good overall over the last couple of weeks. Where they struggle defensively is when they turn it over because they can't get set up on defense. If they miss a shot on the offensive end, but they're able to get back and set up their defense has been just fine. But when they're turning the ball over, their defense just crumbles. So that's an area of concern still with the Nuggets, and specifically with Nikola Jokic. He's turning the ball over way too much, and they've got to get that corrected. And like I said earlier, Joker knows about this. Like, he's aware that he's turning it over too much. He's talked about this. He has talked about this. So it's one of those things where I don't know what to do. I don't know what the messaging is. I don't know what Nikola can work on specifically to stop turning the ball over so much. But it's never seemed to be this bad at any point in his career with the number of turnovers. And the thing with the turnovers tonight for the Nuggets, most of their turnovers weren't like forced, hey, great play Lakers turnovers. They were just unforced errors. I mean, Julian Strawther had a turnover where he literally just threw the ball at the other team. I mean, those were the turnovers we were getting tonight. So that was my biggest issue with the Nuggets turnovers tonight. They were not great plays by LA, cutting and passing lanes, stripping the ball out of somebody's hands. They were all really just unforced errors. So those are the ones you can't live with. Those are the turnovers that will kill you. And luckily for the Nuggets tonight, they were able to pull out a win. Okay. Not going to take that away from them. They got the win. But they cannot continue to play this way and expect to win in the playoffs. This is not a winning formula in the playoffs. You can get away with it here and there in the regular season, but when it comes to playoff time, especially in these clutch situations, they've got to figure out a way to take care of the basketball. So that's kind of my rant there on my issues with the Nuggets tonight. But hey, a lot of positives from tonight. First of all, the start of the game was great. I loved the start from the Nuggets. I would like to see them be able to do that a little bit more. They got off to an 11-0 start, 9 points from Jamal Murray. There was a bad challenge from Adelman in that first quarter. If you've listened to the show all season, you know how much I hate first half challenges. Hell, I would even go as far to say, if you're challenging any call that's not in the fourth quarter, I'm going to question that challenge. You better be 99% certain that the call is going to get overturned. And if you're making a challenge in the first quarter, even if you know the call was wrong and it's going to get overturned, I would still argue that I wouldn't use your challenge in that situation because these challenges are too valuable late in games. Now, luckily tonight, the Nuggets, it didn't cost them and they didn't have to have a play that was clearly, the wrong call, and they didn't have a challenge that didn't hurt them tonight, but it could have. So I am very anti-challenging calls, especially in the first half, especially in first quarters of games. And the challenge tonight, I mean, this is where I was critical of Adelman. I tweeted out, that's a terrible challenge there by David Adelman. It was, because the first replay you saw, Nikola Jokic smacks Luka Doncic right in the face. And obviously Luka went down. He was holding his nose. I mean, it was clear as day that was a foul on Nikola Jokic. I don't know what their Nuggets video guys saw. They called the timeout right away and challenged it. I know you got to they've got to make these decisions really quick, but man, take the extra 4 or 5 seconds to really make sure that this is something worth challenging. And I did not agree with that challenge at all. Even before they announced that the call was upheld, and they went to commercial break, and I'm sitting here like, man, that's a bad challenge there from David Adelman. So look, hopefully that's something that he learns from moving forward. I'd be curious to see if he's going to talk about that tonight. Who knows? But again, that's the challenges in the first half of games. I don't know why any teams in the NBA do that, to be honest with you, unless there's only 2 acceptable scenarios for me where a first half challenge is acceptable. Number one, it's 99% obvious that they got the call wrong and they're 99% sure it's going to get overturned. Okay. Even then, it's still a little sketchy to me. Number 2, if your star player is in foul trouble and gets a foul call and you want to get that foul rescinded, okay, you can make that argument. But other than that, these challenges in the first half, especially the first quarter of games, I just don't understand. So we'll see if Adelman kind of learns from that moving forward, especially on tonight's call, because the first replay, I was like, why are they challenging this? That was obviously a foul on Nikola Jokic. And of course it didn't get overturned. So anyways, hopefully they learn from that. Now, Nuggets led, Joker did get into foul trouble, by the way. In that first quarter, he had 2 fouls with about 2.5 minutes to go. So Adelman takes him out. Smart move. He brings in Jonas Valanciunas, and the Nuggets lead 32-22 after 1. Now, the other thing I was critical of Adelman tonight as well, he took Jamal Murray out at the 6-minute mark of the first quarter. Now, I understand why he did that, okay? The plan is take Jamal out at the 6-minute mark, rest him for the rest of the quarter, and then he's going to start the second with the second unit. Totally get the plan, understand the plan. The problem I had with it tonight was Jamal was on fire to start this game. I mean, he was absolutely cooking. I thought Jamal looked great tonight. This is one of, especially in the first half. Second half, he slowed down a little bit, did get bumped in the leg pretty good. I think that kind of slowed him down. Those are very painful injuries. I wouldn't be surprised if Jamal misses a game or two, to be quite honest with you. They were talking about it on the broadcast. Steve Nash was. And he's like, yeah, that's happened to me before, and it's cost me to miss a game or two. Wouldn't be shocked to see Jamal Murray miss a game or two. He might not, but I wouldn't be surprised. So I think that kind of slowed him down after that in this game, because he did score 20 points in the first half, but he only had 8 in the second half. But Jamal was cooking in that first quarter. If I'm Adelman, it's really hard. It would have been a really difficult decision for me to take Jamal Murray out of the game at that point with how well he started this game. When a guy is cooking that much, I would have kept him in there. for at least 3 or 4 more minutes in that first quarter to kind of see where his game was going for the rest of the night. Now, to be fair, so I would have left him in. But to be fair to Adelman, on the other side of that coin, Jamal does start the second quarter, and he continues where he left off. He had a really good start to the second quarter. In fact, he got early on in that second quarter, got up to 14 points on 4 of 5 shooting, and he was 3 of 3 from beyond the arc. And it really helped give a boost to that second unit. So in the end, it didn't really cost the Nuggets all that much. But if Jamal Murray would have come out in that second quarter and struggled, I really would have questioned that decision. So anyways, it is what it is. There was some elite shot making in that second quarter. That was so fun to see. That's what I love when the Nuggets go up against Luka. I mean, they've got Joker, who's really good at hitting tough shots. Obviously, Jamal Murray is one of the best difficult shot makers in the NBA. And so was Luka Doncic. And they were putting on a show in that second quarter. That was a blast to watch. In fact, the Nuggets actually led 64-54 at halftime. The reason the Nuggets turnovers didn't kill them tonight was their 3-point shooting. They were great from beyond the arc. In the first half, they were 10 of 19 from 3 in that first half, over 50%. So that kind of bailed them out as far as the turnovers go, and giving up 26 points off of those turnovers. But the 3-point shooting was great. I want to see what they finished for the game. They were 14 of 31 for the game. So they cooled down a little bit in the second half. They shoot 45% from 3 for the game. Really good number. Now the Lakers heated up there in the second half from 3. They ended up 13 to 31, 42%. Rui Hachimura was great. He was 4 of 5 from beyond the arc. Marcus Smart was 3 of 6. So they did sort of get that going in the second half. But, you know, it is, the Nuggets are the number 1 team in the NBA as far as 3-point shooting percentage goes. They also just I think they take the least amount of 3-point attempts in the NBA, but they have the highest percentage. So they don't take a ton of threes, but when they do, they knock them down at a pretty consistent clip. So that was great to see that the Nuggets were shooting as well as they were from the outside. And guess what? When the Nuggets are shooting well from the outside, what does that open up? It opens up the two-man game. The two-man game between Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. It allows the two-man game, the defensive pressure on Jokic and Murray to loosen up a little bit when these guys are hitting consistently from the outside. The first 5 threes of the game for the Nuggets were off of assists from Nikola Jokic. You had Christian Brown in the corner. You had Tim Hardaway. He flipped it back. It was the logo 3. He had one to Jamal in the corner. So when Nikola is able to distribute and get the ball out, and guys are making these open shots, then they have to respect the outside shooters, and that's what allows the two-man game to really get going. And I thought that was tonight's game was a great example of that. This was the best the two-man game has looked since Nikola Jokic has come back from injury. I know a lot of Nuggets fans, myself included, have been talking about what's going on with the two-man game. This isn't working anymore like it used to. Just a couple years ago, I mean, the two-man game was the most unstoppable duo or play in the entire NBA. Not just for the Nuggets. In the entire NBA, it was the most unstoppable, unguardable play in basketball was the two-man game between Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. And when Joker came back from his injury, it seemed like it had sort of gone away. And it wasn't working nearly as effectively as we're used to seeing. I thought tonight it was much better. So hopefully that's another area where they can start to build some momentum from that moving forward. Okay, waiting for Adelman to pop up here, waiting for DMAC to post that. So once he does, we'll hear from the head coach. But in the meantime, would love to get some of your comments here. All right, let's see. From Mark Howe, I think Adelman finally realized that he needs to stagger Jamal with the second unit, so he took him out around the 3-minute mark regardless. I had in my notes it was the 6-minute mark. But like I said, I understand why he's doing it. My only problem with it was Jamal was absolutely on fire to start this game. I don't know. When a guy is playing that well, I know what the strategy is, but sometimes I think it's okay to adjust the strategy based on what's happening on the court. You know, they say in war, like, you have your war plans and you have like planned down to the last detail, but it's going to change once you actually see what's going to take place. I'm obviously not comparing this to war. I'm just using that as a metaphor of like, you have to be able to adjust on the fly based on what you're seeing. And I thought tonight was a great example of Jamal was cooking, just keep him in the game and figure the rest out later. But like I said, luckily, when Jamal did start with the second unit to start the second quarter, he continued his great play. So it worked out tonight. But if Jamal Murray would have come out and cool off a lot in that second quarter, I really would have questioned that decision. So we'll see. All right, looks like Pickett days are over for the season. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, obviously the Nuggets brought in Tyus Jones. He did get into the game tonight. A whole 6 minutes for Tyus Jones. Honestly, look, it's his first game with a new team, so I'm not. There's not a whole lot to evaluate from Tyus Jones's performance tonight. He played 6 minutes, didn't score, took 2 shots, missed a 3. He was 0 for 2. Did have 1 rebound and 1 turnover. But he was a +4 in his 6 minutes, so there you go. So just kind of a wait and see on Tyus Jones. But who knows? Yeah, I mean, it is going to be an interesting decision to see what they do with Jalen Pickett or Tyus Jones. Like, who is Adelman going to go with? Are you going to go with the new guy or the guy that's been on the team for years, knows the system, has been playing well at various points throughout the regular season? I mean, Jalen Pickett's had some really good games this year. He's also had some duds. But that's going to be interesting to watch over the course of the rest of the regular season. I don't think Jalen Pickett's season is over. I still think he'll get minutes. But yeah, I mean, luckily for the Nuggets, they've got a lot of depth at guard now. So these are good problems to have if you're David Adelman when you're choosing between Tyus Jones, Jalen Pickett. We'll see what happens with those two. But that was a good observation, and hey, it was good to see Tyus at least get his feet wet and get into the game a little bit tonight. All right, let's see here. Just going through some of your comments. Great win tonight. Appreciate you listening. Let's see. DA still doing decent with what he has been dealt. Yeah, look, Adelman's gotten a lot of criticism over this rough stretch for the Nuggets, and some of it deservedly so. I do want to point out and just remind everybody how everybody, myself included, was talking about David Adelman over the course of the 16 games that Nikola Jokic missed. This team went 10-6 when Nikola Jokic was out, while also having Cam Johnson out, Christian Brown out. I mean, they had a bunch of guys out during that stretch. It wasn't just Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon out, and they go 10-6. So I don't think it's fair to talk about David Adelman and the struggles the team has had since Nikola's come back from injury without at least reminding everybody how good of a job he and the team did over the 16 games that Nikola Jokic missed. I mean, the fact that they went 10-6 without Nikola, quite honestly, is a miracle. Now, the schedule wasn't nearly as tough as it is right now and is going to be for the rest of the regular season. But regardless, with all of the injuries they dealt with over that stretch and really just over the course of this entire regular season, you got to give Adelman credit for the job he and the team did over that 16-game stretch, because going 10-6 without the greatest player in the world is not easy to do. I've been critical of David Adelman at times this season, and I think deservedly so. But you also have to praise him when he's doing good things. So we'll see. I've been critical of some of his rotations, some of his challenges, like I was tonight. But he has also had some really good stretches of coaching this year. A win is a win, right, guys? Hey, you know what? Like I said, at this point in the season, that really is kind of my philosophy, especially like if Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson, when they come back, they play 5, 6, 7, 8 games, something like that. They look good. Then we can get down to really being critical, even in wins. But for now, this team just needs to stack up as many wins as possible any way they possibly can. And look, DMAC and I were pretty critical of the win in Utah. I called it an embarrassing win. I stick by that. I think it was, but they won the game. And, now they've won 2 in a row, and we'll see where they can go moving forward. And they're about to get, they were saying on the broadcast, I've heard a lot of reports. It's not official, but it looks like Aaron Gordon might play tomorrow night against the New York Knicks. They're showing his pregame warm-up routine. He went through his full pregame warm-up routine. DMAC posted a video of his warm-up. If you want to go check that out on DMAC's Twitter, he looked great. So it looks like he's very close to returning. He did a full practice yesterday. I don't know if Peyton Watson is on the same exact timeline, but I know it's very close to Aaron Gordon. So maybe Peyton Watson is, a week or so later. Who knows? We'll see what happens there. But they're getting very close to getting some of their big guys back. So that would be absolutely great to see. All right, let's get this in here. Honestly, do LeBron's teammates like him? He's such a punk. Wouldn't shake hands. Yeah, look, LeBron is so fascinating because he is such a polarizing player. Like, LeBron is one of those guys where you either just love him or you despise him. For the most part, I'm not saying that's everybody, but for the most part, LeBron is either beloved or despised by most NBA fans. And I would say by most Nuggets fans. I'm kind of in the middle on LeBron, to be quite honest with you. Like, I respect him as a basketball player, but there's obviously a bunch of things about him that annoy me. I think he's way too whiny to the refs. There's been certain ways he goes about his business that I don't really like. I think the decision going to Miami was ridiculous and a look at me moment. I think he probably learned from that. But, I for a guy that's 41 years old and that's still playing as well as he is, I mean, how can you not respect the basketball aspect of that? It is truly remarkable what he's been able to do. Okay, so those are kind of my thoughts on the game tonight. Looking forward to tomorrow, we've got the Knicks coming into town. That's going to be a great game. Obviously, the Nuggets lost in overtime just a week or two ago in New York, in the Garden to New York. They're a really good team. Let me look up the standings here and see where the Knicks are at in the standings. They have been tremendous since really the start of January. They kind of faltered in late December, early January, but since then they have been one of the best teams in the NBA. They're 40-23. They did lose their last game to Oklahoma City, where all the Knicks players were complaining that that SGA is the best player in the game as far as convincing the refs to call fouls, which I thought was interesting. A bunch of Knicks players were saying that after the game. We'll keep that in mind for the Nuggets matchup against Oklahoma City early next week. But this Knicks team is playing really well. And look, this momentum that the Nuggets they have a tiny bit of momentum that they've built up here in Utah. Okay, hey, they won the game. Great. I know the players in the locker room took it as a win is a win. And then really good win over the Lakers tonight. Obviously, the turnovers were an issue, but they won the game. Jamal Murray had a great game. Nikola Jokic had a great game. They shot the 3 ball incredibly well, especially in the first half. The 2-man game looks like it's back. So there is a lot of positives, little momentum bubbling towards the surface for this team. Slowly but surely, you can see this team is starting to regain a little bit of their confidence. And like I said, Jamal Murray has been phenomenal over the last 4 games. He scored 45 points against Utah. They don't win that game unless Jamal Murray goes nuclear like he did. And then the first half tonight was tremendous from Jamal Murray. 20 points, hitting the 3 ball really well. Slowed down a little bit in the second half, like I said. He finishes the game, though, with 28 points, 8 of 17 shooting, 5 of 9 from 3, hit all 7 of his free throws. He's getting to the line, 7 assists. Jamal is playing great, and Jamal Murray is the straw that stirs the drink for the Denver Nuggets. I've always said that Jamal Murray is this team's X factor because you know what you're going to get from Nikola Jokic. The reason I say it's Jamal Murray is the X factor is because this team really does go as Jamal Murray goes. When he's inconsistent, the team's inconsistent. Why do you think they were able to win the championship so convincingly in 2023? Answer that question to yourself. Why were the Nuggets so dominant in their playoff run to a title in 2023, where they went 16-4? It's because Jamal Murray played the best basketball of his career during that playoff run. That's why. Nikola Jokic was unbelievable. He obviously won the MVP. But we expect that from Nikola. Nikola does that every day, almost every game. So we know what we're getting in Nikola Jokic. He's as consistent as it gets. But when Jamal Murray isn't riding along with him, this team tends to struggle. When he catches fire, that elevates them from a good playoff team to a legitimate title contending basketball team. So the key to this whole thing, in my opinion, is Jamal Murray. That's key number one. Can Jamal Murray keep this up? Now, what's been different about this year and Jamal has been he's had a consistent season all season long. We've never seen this from him in his entire career. He's a notoriously slow starter. Every Nuggets fan knows this. But this year is different. He made his first All-Star game, started off the season really strong, came into the season in great shape. I mean, compare it to last year and the year before, night and day. So Jamal Murray really is the key to the Nuggets title chances, in my opinion. And then you can go down the list. Health, outside shooting from the others. Can Tim Hardaway be a really productive sixth man off the bench in the playoffs? Like, you can go down the list, but it starts with Jamal Murray. All right, let's hear from David Adelman after the Nuggets get the win over the LA Lakers. Here's the head coach.
26 of those were off of your turnovers. So I'm actually curious about the half-court defense tonight and what you thought of that.
Yeah, it was really good. That was the issue was the live ball turnovers, to your point. They weren't – you'd rather throw the ball out of bounds than what we did. It gave them runouts. But, Luka's so good. So you just try to give him a million different looks. We were down the floor. We were up the floor. We switched a little bit. I just thought we gave great effort. And obviously, it's really important to rebound the ball, and we did that. We kept them off the glass, take away the second chance opportunities. So a lot of positives to this. That's a really good team. And then more importantly, I'll say it now because it's after the game, but just for the season series, to tie it, knowing we have a chance because we know all these teams are going to be close to each other at the end of the year. So I have thought our half-court defense since the All-Star break has been really good. The two outliers, to me, were more schedule things where we were just exhausted. The Golden State game, and then obviously in Utah, we just didn't have a lot of juice in those games. But besides that, I've liked our overall effort. Our communication has been better, and that has to continue if we're going to try to put ourselves in the best place possible going into that tournament.
David, in the back, given the late game struggles so much lately, how nice was it to hold on, even though it did get tight late, to hold on and win a close one?
Yeah, I don't really think about that. I know my team's going to win close games. We've had some struggles. We finished games with a million different lineups. There's not just two people out there. There's five. So it's how they guard us is dependent on who's out there. And, we won the game in Utah. We won this game. I thought we did a good job getting the ball to the elbow for Nikola, gives him more space to attack as opposed to the block where they were basically triple teaming him. But yeah, the guys, there's no lack of confidence in there in close games. I got to be honest. It's not something we've talked about. It's just something you keep working on because you're going to need it late, later in the season. And you're hoping that you get your group back that has ran certain things for many years. And you don't want to go away from that. But you got to get the guys back to execute the plays that we used to run. So it's a crapshoot right now who's finishing games. And, that does affect how you space and how you play the last few minutes. But proud of the guys tonight. They did their job defensively, found ways to score offensively. We made free throws.
To that point, you talk about trusting the other guys when they kind of flood that zone around Nikola.
Yeah.
Tim and Julian combined for 32. Jokic only had 6 shots at half, but had all those assists. How important is it when teams are going to do that you don't get too reliant on two-man game and instead move to the weak side to give these guys an opportunity to punish that defense?
Yeah, and I think it's important that we don't try to make something up that's not there. If they're going to bring 5 people across the floor to your point, if we screen in a rotation or if we flood to the rim, that takes the last man available with him. Find the weak side and trust those guys. The play where Nikola ISO'd and went left and beat his man, and Julian standing there in the corner, that was the biggest shot of the game to me, put us back out in front. It's just doing what's available to you. We ran a little motion action with Luka in the mix, and it gave enough body movement for them not to load up on Nikola. He got an easy basket there off the elbow. So who we are right now, I think that's what we're trending to be at the end of games. And, again, it's different when it's Aaron flooding. We all know that. It's a dunk. It's not just a catch, try to make the next pass. But I'm just proud of the guy. They're doing what we're asking them to do, bottom line. And we just have to take care of the ball better throughout the course of the game. And maybe we wouldn't have to be in those situations.
Coach, what did you think of the opportunity that Zeke had in front of him, how he took advantage of it, and the decision to go with that?
Yeah, I thought he was really good. We thought he was a good matchup for LeBron as far as just his ability with his body, had move his feet. He competed with him. We're just nightly. We meet as a staff in the morning and which way do you want to go here? Once we knew Cam was out, Julian's been good offensively, so that was an automatic to stay. And then it just felt like with the lack of wings that we have, even though Zeke is more of a traditional power forward, he can hybrid, and guard some of those positions, some of those guys. So I give CB credit on Luka. He's an amazing player, but I did think we made him play inside the line a lot, which is what you want to do. And I thought Zeke really competed with, arguably the greatest player of all time. So it's, both guys are very impactful on that end.
You mentioned getting Nicole a couple touches at the elbow late. You guys run that split action. He keeps and gets to the rim. What kind of led to that decision? Like, what were you guys seeing with the Lakers defense? Just kind of curious what came into that.
Yeah, we went to the post a few times. It was live ball turnovers, and so you're trying to find a different place to give him the ball. And I do think it's good to have some body movement and motion as opposed to just straight ISOs because they just load up. There's nothing happening. But if somebody cuts the rim, Jamal gets to space, you have to honor that. You have to honor a layup, and you have to honor Jamal Murray. And if that's the case, he has space to attack. Even in those situations, sometimes they bring another defender, and now the corner is open or whatever it may be. So, I like it to happen organically like that, or we're playing our actual system as opposed to everybody just staring at somebody. Because good defensive teams, if there's no body movement, that can be a problem. And when we had that tonight, I thought it was when we had issues with the live ball turnovers.
Okay, there he is, the head coach of the Denver Nuggets after they get the win over the LA Lakers, 120-113, the final down there at Ball Arena tonight. The Nuggets improve to 39-24 on the season. Couple interesting things there from Adelman talking about the closing of games. Boy, this is the way I kind of heard it. He doesn't seem nearly as concerned as a lot of us in the media, and I know a lot of you Nuggets fans are, about the clutch time, closing of game issues that this team has had really throughout the course of the season. Now, he did mention having Aaron Gordon in there does change things. I think we all can understand that. If anything, what this stretch of games, this struggle stretch, for lack of a better term, that we've seen since the return of Nikola Jokic from his injury, is just how damn important Aaron Gordon is to this team in everything that they do on both ends of the floor. And when Aaron Gordon is in the dunker spot, that really does give Nikola Jokic more options, especially when the double team comes, like we've seen him struggle a little bit more than we're used to. Well, I think that we're kind of really starting to understand why, because Aaron Gordon, the added elements that he brings on the offensive end, the extra options he gives Nikola Jokic, whether it's cutting to the rim or he's developed into an elite three-point shooter. Let's not forget about that, by the way. They're missing that in Aaron Gordon. He has truly turned into a 40+% three-point shooter and what he can do on the defensive end. So it was kind of good to hear Adelman not sound too worried about these late game situations. And he from what he sounded like, he thinks they're going to be fine, especially when they get Aaron Gordon back. You throw Peyton Watson into the mix there as well. That was good to hear from the head coach. Also, hey, Zeke Naji gets the start tonight. He's been the butt of a lot of jokes for Nuggets fans over the years, sometimes deservedly so. But you heard Coach say it there. I mean, he gets paired up on LeBron tonight. He gets the start. And I thought Zeke had a pretty damn good game. And I think I was saying in the Utah game, I thought Zeke should have gotten more run in that game with Jonas Valanciunas or Nikola Jokic instead of the 4-guard lineup. Now, the Nuggets did go back to Jokic in the 4 guards, the lineup that I really don't like all that much, but I was more okay with it tonight because the Lakers were consistently going to small ball. So when the Lakers were going to small ball, I was okay with that lineup in this situation. I'm still not a huge fan of it. By the way, we haven't even talked about David Roddy, former CSU star. Congrats to him. He gets a 2-way deal with the Nuggets. They signed him and Tyus Jones. They made it official today. Didn't know if we were going to see him. Adelman said they've kind of been tracking him for a while. So it's really cool to see a local kid, 2 local kids. Now we got a former Buff and a former Ram on the Denver Nuggets. That is awesome to see. I really liked David Roddy when he was in college. I thought he was a really good college basketball player, kind of bounced around a little bit in the NBA, but he's still really young, and he's a bigger body, forward position where the Nuggets are lacking a little bit of depth right now. They're fine at the guard position as far as depth goes, but they are lacking a little bit of depth at the forward position. So the addition of David Roddy, I'll be curious to see if he gets any time here down the stretch, especially with, from what I'm hearing, the close return of Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson. I mean, who knows? But with the injury concerns with Aaron Gordon, I mean, who knows? So I think that was one of the reasons they decided to bring David Roddy in, was because they're probably fearful, rightfully so, of Aaron Gordon not being able to stay healthy. I hope that's not the case. I hope David Roddy is able to, develop in the G League and not have to play at all this year for the Nuggets, as much as I would like to see him play just a little bit, just to kind of see what it looks like. But it was a good depth move from the Nuggets. We had Adelman on earlier this week on Columbus, Hastings, and DMAC, and he said, they've really liked him for quite a while. So sounds like the Nuggets think very highly of David Roddy. That was some exciting news to hear from the head coach, and super excited to, like I said, to see 2 former local college athletes on the Denver Nuggets, with KJ Simpson, the former Buff, and now David Roddy, the former CSU Ram star. So that was cool to see, and we'll see if he gets some run here down the stretch. All right. That's going to do it for the show tonight, everybody. Great win for the Nuggets. Really appreciate you tuning in. Another huge game coming up tomorrow night. Boy, this 7-game stretch is super exciting because we're out of the dog days of the season. This is where the NBA gets really, really fun, and just chef's kiss on how exciting these games are going to be, especially the 7-game stretch. They're 1-0. They're 1-0 on this 7-game stretch. My goal is for them to go 5-2. If they can go 5-2, I think that would be a massive win. You probably are going to have Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson back during this stretch. We'll see how that goes, and it could be the start of a really good turnaround for the Denver Nuggets, and who knows, they can sort of jump up in the standings. By the way, just quick footnote here. Technically, the Nuggets are still in the 5 seed. They're tied as far as games back of the Houston Rockets, but the Rockets do have the point percentage lead over the Nuggets. They're at 623. The Nuggets are at 619, but the Rockets did lose tonight. So, hey, they're only 1 game back of the 3 seed, Minnesota Timberwolves. So if they can go 5-2 on this 7-game stretch, I think that's a really good opportunity. You have Houston, you have OKC, you have San Antonio in this stretch. If they can go 5-2, they have a really good chance at the end of this 7-game stretch to be back in the 3 seed with this team, hopefully, knocking on wood, healthy moving forward and starting to build momentum towards the playoffs. And that's really what it's all about for this team right now. So great win tonight. Appreciate you listening. We'll be back tomorrow night to react to Nuggets and Knicks. We will talk to you then. Peace.